I see a dragon and I have to just kill it, you know? It's who I am, Dad.
How to Train Your Dragon is one of those movies that sneak up on you. You go in expecting something light, maybe some cool dragon fights and a few jokes, and you get that. But then somewhere along the line, it punches you in the heart. Because underneath the fire-breathing and flying sequences, this is really a story about a boy trying to figure out how to be his father's son and what to do when that path doesn't look anything like he thought it would.
Excuse me, barmaid. I'm afraid you brought me the wrong offspring.
This isn't just about Hiccup training a dragon. It's about him trying to prove himself in a world that sees him as a failure and a father who can't quite hide his disappointment. And the twist, the same father turns out to be just as lost.
Even as a boy, I knew what I was, what I had to become. Hiccup is not that boy.
Today we're breaking down How to Train Your Dragon, not as an action movie, not even as a coming-of-age story, but as a quiet, painful, and sometimes awkward journey about fathers, sons, and the fear of not living up to your expectations. Yeah, the flying lizards are cool. Yeah, Toothless is adorable, but the reason this movie actually sticks in your brain for years isn't because of the fire-breathing spectacle.
We're dead. Whoa. Where do you think you're going?
This movie came out in 2010, when 3D movies were trying to jump out of the screen and scare your grandma. But while other movies were busy doing the visual backflips, How to Train Your Dragon sat us down and said, hey, let's talk about what it's like when your dad wants you to be something you're not. And it did it in the most gentle, heartbreaking way possible.
No more of this.
You just gestured to all of me.
Deal?
This conversation is feeling very one-sided.
Deal?
The first time we meet Hiccup, he's running, not from danger, but towards it. He's this tiny kid in a village full of buff Viking gym bros, and he's trying to prove that he belongs by joining a literal dragon attack. Everyone's screaming, buildings are on fire, and he's out here like, I made a dragon catching machine. Maybe this will finally make my dad notice me. And that tells you everything you need to know about their relationship. Hiccup isn't just trying to survive in this village, he's trying to earn space in it. And more importantly, earn space in his dad's eyes. Stoick, the chief of the village, is this massive, bearded, battle-hardened guy who basically came out of the womb with a sword in his hand.
When you carry this axe, you carry all of us with you. Which means you walk like us, you talk like us, you think like us.
And his son makes gadgets, draws in his sketchbook, thinks dragon might not be monsters, so yeah, they don't exactly speak the same language. But the wild part is that Stoick isn't a bad dad. He's not mean, he's not abusive, he's just stuck in what he thinks being a Viking means, stuck in the way he was raised. And when your whole identity is built on fighting dragons and your son is out here making friends with one, it's kind of a lot. So when Hiccup finally shoots down a Night Fury, aka the uncatchable, super scary boss level dragon, he thinks this is it. This is his moment. He goes into the forest to find a dragon, proof that he's brave, strong, and most importantly, worthy. But when he finds Toothless, chained and wounded, he can't bring himself to finish the job. And in that moment, the movie flips. Because instead of doing what everyone expects, Hiccup does what feels right. This is the first real choice Hiccup makes. Not to impress anyone, not to earn a medal, but because his God told him it was the right thing to do.
I don't want to fight dragons.
Through learning how to connect with a dragon, Hiccup learns how to connect with himself. He realizes that he doesn't have to change who he is to be strong. He just has to lean into it. Meanwhile, Stoick is doing the dad version of spiraling. He's convinced that if he can just find a dragon's nest and destroy it, the world will be safer. So he sets off on this big sea expedition, literally leaving his son behind, thinking he's protecting him. When Stoick comes back, he's not hyped. He hasn't found the nest, but he's ready for war still. And then he hears that Hiccup has been killing it in the dragon training.
Congratulations, Stoick! Everyone is so relieved.
Stoick thinks, wow, my son finally gets it. Except Hiccup hasn't been fighting dragons, he's been learning how not to. He's been using empathy, observation, and trust. 3 things that don't usually make it into Vikings bootcamp. He's been applying everything to outsmart the other dragons instead of hurting them. But when Stoick finds out, he doesn't get it. He sees it as betrayal, like Hiccup's been lying to him. And to be fair, Hiccup has been hiding things, but not to be sneaky, to actually survive, to avoid disappointing his dad again. This is a turning point, the scene where Stoick literally disowns him.
You're not a Viking. You're not my son.
And that line lands like a brick. But here's where the movie earns its emotional weight. After the yelling, all the miscommunication, all the stubborn Viking energy, it doesn't just make Hiccup win and Stoick say, wow, I was wrong, son. It makes Stoick change. Because later, when everything's on fire and the dragons are attacking and Hiccup risks everything to save Toothless and fails, Stoick steps in. Not as a warrior, as a dad. He saves Toothless, and not because he suddenly loves dragons, but because he realizes what Toothless means to Hiccup. And that's the shift, the quiet, powerful shift. Stoick starts to listen, not just hear, but really listen. And that's how we end up in the final battle where Hiccup fly by together, motivated to face the monster. Not because they want glory, but because they figured out how to be stronger together. And yes, it's a huge spectacle. There's fire and screaming and tailspins, and the sky literally cracking open. But the real victory isn't beating the monster. It's that Hiccup finally feels like he belongs. By the end of the movie, Stoick tells Hiccup, I'm proud to call you my son. And Hiccup, who's now missing a leg, mirrors Toothless, who's missing a tail fin. They're both changed, but not broken. They found strength in what made them different. And so did Stoick. That's what makes this movie so good. It's not just about taming dragons, it's about taming the fear that people closest to us will never understand who we really are and what happens when they really do.
Turns out all we needed was a little more of this.
You just gestured to all of me.